The item before you today is the CL Shady Hills MPUD. It's PDE 26-7888. This is a proposed zoning amendment from a C2 General Commercial District to an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development to allow for the development of 160 platted townhomes and associated infrastructure on 24.1 acres. And the subject site is located on the east side of Shady Hills Road, approximately 720 feet south of the intersection of Shady Hills Road and County Line Road. So here's the subject site. It's located in the northwest corner of the county in the North Market area. The subject site is located on the east side of Shady Hills Road, just south of County Line Road. And to note, there's a low point on the northeastern corner of the subject site, which the commercial developments that you'll see to the northern extent of Shady Hills Road currently drains to. And there's also bare patch land in the southwest corner that you'll see that provides existing drainage for the eastern side of Shady Hills Road. Here's the zoning map, the existing zoning C2 General Commercial District. And it's important to note that in 2015, there was a conditional use approved, CU 1517, to allow for multifamily dwelling units in a C2 General Commercial District. And this permitted MF2 multifamily high density district, which would permit a maximum density of 18 dwelling units per acre, totaling 434 multifamily dwelling units on the subject site. The applicant's proposal today of 160 townhomes would equate to a density of 6.7, resulting in a density decrease approximately 11 units per acre. Here's the future land use, which is ROR, retail, office, residential, and would allow a maximum of 24 dwelling units per acre. And here you'll see the master plan. So the MPUD will have one functional access located generally in the center, with a secondary emergency access towards the southern boundary with pedestrian access. And the applicant will be constructing a 235-foot southbound left turn lane. And you'll also see shaded in, I believe, orange on the master plan there. The applicant will be constructing an 8-foot sidewalk along the project's frontage on the east side of Shady Hills Road. And the lot dimensions are shown in the bottom right-hand corner. The townhomes will be 18 foot in width with 90 foot in depth, the minimum dimensions. Let me correct that. With a max height of 45 feet. So here you'll see the binding concept plan that depicts the proposed layout of the 160 townhome units. You'll see that 8-foot sidewalk again shown. And additionally, on the northern park area on the subject site, you'll see pedestrian access to the 8-foot sidewalk on the east side of Shady Hills Road. There'll be a type B buffer to the northeast and south. The townhome units shall be limited to 2 to 8 units and no more than 2 stories. Another thing to note is a maximum of 50% of the total townhome buildings within the development may consist of 8 units. And then of the 8-unit townhome buildings, they shall not be constructed directly adjacent to another 8-unit townhome block. So here's a context map. So on the context map, you'll see Shady Hills Road just west of the subject site. And another thing to point out, the applicant additionally included a condition of approval for an offsite improvement for construction of an 8-foot sidewalk from the project's southern boundary to the entrance to Shady Hills Elementary School on the eastern side of Shady Hills Road. You'll see that in that darker orange shown. And just to provide some overall context for the pedestrian network of the Shady Hills Road corridor, Del Webb is constructing an 8-foot path on both sides of Shady Hills Road from Canyon Ridge Road to Cruise Lake Drive. The county has plans to put a 5-foot sidewalk on the east side of Shady Hills Road, which is currently at 30% design and is anticipated to begin construction in fiscal year 26, spanning from Cruise Lake to Bosley. So what I'm driving at here is after this proposal with the condition I just mentioned, there'll only be essentially 2 missing segments of eastern sidewalk from Bosley to the entrance to Shady Hills Elementary, and then from the subject site's northern 8-foot path to County Line Road. The applicant seeks a variation from LDC section 901-6011, street access to adjoining property. The applicant requests not to provide an interconnect to the north, south, or east due to the existing site conditions that make it not feasible to provide an interconnect. As I mentioned earlier, to the north, the subject site is an existing on-water stormwater on-site stormwater retention pond that provides retention for the sites to the north of the subject site, extending to the commercial uses that are located at the intersection of Shady Hills Road and County Line Road, which will need to be modified to accommodate the proposed development. On the southern portion of the subject site, there's an existing stormwater pond that serves the eastern side of Shady Hills Road and will need to be also modified for the new portions of Shady Hills right of way, which will be dedicated and make an interconnect not feasible. To the east of the subject site, there's an existing power line and natural gas corridor, which makes an interconnect not feasible. Given the site constraints, the public purpose of the southern pond accommodating retention for the public right of way, and the additional pedestrian connectivity added to facilitate circulation, PDE is amenable to the request and find that the requested variation meets the intent of the code. The applicant is also seeking a variation from LDC section 901.2I transportation corridor management. The applicant proposes a variation to the right-of-way preservation table corridor width for Shady Hills Road from 166 feet to 124 feet. PDE has met with the applicant and the county engineer, and at the advisement of the county engineer, revised the proposed dedication of right-of-way to 124 feet to accommodate a planned transition to a 4-lane urban section as opposed to the existing proposed rural section with swales as currently contemplated on the existing right-of-way preservation table. PDE is amenable to the request and finds the requested variation meets the intent of the code. And this comes with the recommendation of conditions.
Any questions for Robert? Yeah, just real quick. So I see the previous history on this property has on August 18th, 2015, there was a conditional use already approved for MF2 on this property.
Correct.
Could you just give me a little bit more of that background?
Yeah, so I think I have it here somewhere. So that was essentially just approved to allow for multifamily dwelling units, and as I mentioned earlier, that would be at an 18-unit density.
Right.
So they could build up to, I think,
400 and some.
yeah, 400 and some odd multifamily units.
Based on that acreage. Okay. Anything else?
And how far did you say the sidewalks were?
In width or where they're,
The length that they're
so,
putting in along Shady Hills Road?
so the segment that they're doing that's on site is just expanding the actual, it's just spanning from the actual project's frontage. And then I believe in Barbara's presentation, they actually have the actual linear square footage listed as to how far it's going to be from the project's southern MPUD boundary to Shady Hills Elementary. Yeah, I believe it's roughly 2,300 square feet, linear feet, sorry. For that portion that's expanding from the southern boundary to Shady Hills Elementary.
It's a 5-foot wide sidewalk.
It's an 8-foot wide where feasible.
And then do you know how long the frontage is on the property?
I don't offhand, I can find that out for you though.
Looking that up while you.
Yes, sir.
Got our engineer looking up too.
You have.
They're working on
Nonetheless,
it.
It's a long way.
Our Will Height 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey for the applicant. I do have a short PowerPoint.
Great.
And we're gonna see who gets it first, Mr. Semino or Mr. Vermillion.
Oh, man.
But anyhow, if you'd like for me to present in the meantime, to keep this moving, I'd be happy to.
I'm gonna give you the answer to get it.
Oh, they're gonna.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
What a politician.
And as soon as my PowerPoint comes up, I'll get going. See if you can. Right, so on behalf of the applicant, we're bringing this project forward. The current land use is ROR, which allows a maximum density of, it's an eye test, I should have a printed one. 578 residential units, as a matter of the land use. It has both C2 zoning and then it has a conditional use that goes on top of the C2 zoning. And when you do a conditional use for multifamily, it's an additional use. It doesn't take away the commercial. So it still has, the property has commercial entitlements as well as entitlements for multifamily. Staff says it's 18 units per acre. I think it's 24 units per acre. Still a lot of multi-family units that have been approved on this property. We're proposing to do an MPUD that takes away the commercial zoning on this property and the multifamily and replaces it with platted townhomes, which significantly reduces the transportation impact from the project. We also have, as you can maybe see there, if you can see that, we are part of the solution for Shady Hills Road by the fact that we have to convey right of way. As I do in all my projects, we sit down, one of the first things we do is we sit down with staff and the county engineer and the county attorney, and we go through, what do you want for this corridor? What is the needs for right of way? What are we doing about off-site improvements? You know, those types of things. And so we've been working very closely from the beginning, and you see that variation that's to the transition corridor. I didn't come up with that. It was actually your lead county engineer who is updating all of the tables, for the preservation tables together with the 2050 comp plan update. So we're getting that information and we're incorporating it into these projects. So we have current information instead of using old information. As we mentioned, we're removing this zoning will remove the, as a matter of right, ability to have apartments on this property. It also removes the C2 zoning on this property. Proposing a maximum of 185 townhomes. As I mentioned, we're reducing the traffic potential, and we're doing 6% of the project is going for infrastructure for the right of way. We're building 2,300 linear feet of off-site 8-foot sidewalk to Shady Hills Elementary School. And we're doing on-site. Did the guys decide what the on-site is? The portion, how long is the portion along ours?
2,000.
2,000. So between the two, 4,300 linear feet of 8-foot sidewalks. The counties, I always say this, and or county, the sidewalks that they're doing up to Bosley are 5 feet. All of my clients along here, with everything else you've heard that's being done are all my clients. And they're all committed to 8 feet. So this is the binding concept plan. We were asked to do a binding concept plan for this project, and we produced that. As Rob mentioned, by the way, that was a really good presentation. Seen a lot of those in my 30 years, and that's a really good one, by the way. These are the conditions that Rob went over. We're exceeding the PM26. The board's starting to say, what about these 8-unit townhome buildings? We don't want to see all these 8s because they say they line up, and so how can we do that? So we committed to a condition that says we only can have 50% of the units can be 8s, and then we have a monotony control on top of 8s that say we can't have 8s adjacent to 8s. So that's something new. I we'll see that more and more, and more conditions of approval for townhome projects. The other thing that we're exceeding is, even though the PM26 doesn't require it, we know that the board is looking for extra visitor parking. So we have 0.25 spaces per unit. And what's significant about that language is it says it's outside of the driveway and outside of the driveway and the garage. Thank you. But your code doesn't necessarily require that. You can count the spaces in your driveway or your garage to meet the visitor, even though visitors can't go in other people's garages and driveways. My clients are all committed to this extra visitor parking, which has been well received by the Board of County Commissioners. This is the trip generator. We compare what's allowed on the property, what's a matter of right pursuant to its zoning, compared to the townhomes. And we have Steve Henry here. One of the things I would say is because of this difference between the trip generation, when you look at what's allowed versus what we're proposing, we did not have to do a timing and phasing analysis. However, staff was like, we can't just not look at anything. So what we did was we advanced our access management analysis so that we actually did an actual access management analysis at the time of zoning and submitted that. So that's the information that says, here's what's going on with the intersection of Shady Hills and County Line, which there are no negative impacts. But wanted to explain that we kind of went, when you see that access management analysis in the documents, that's because we voluntarily did more than what the code requires in connection with this rezoning. This is the talked about sidewalk, the off-site sidewalk, the 8-foot. that goes from this project to, down to Shady Hills Elementary. I would say that something that was also done for Shady Hills Elementary was before this school year, a client of mine partnered with the county, for the county, to do a 1,000-foot queuing lane into Shady Hills Elementary, which is south of our sidewalk in Shady Hills, and then this queuing lane is on the south side of Shady Hills. So that, what that did was it got traffic that was sitting in the right of way, in the traffic lanes for Shady Hills over onto a queuing lane, so that traffic no longer queues on the travel lane. So that's been an improvement, and it was done in about 4 months between when we were requested to do that, it was constructed, maybe 5 months between agreements and actual construction. So I know we're gonna hear about Shady Hills Road and that and so forth, but I can tell you that the board is committed, because I've had another rezoning, and maybe they'll reference. The board of county commissioners is committed, that's a priority, and we're doing our part, right away, off-site sidewalk. And then all these other improvements that you hear that are going up and down along Shady Hills Road regarding pedestrians and queuing for school traffic. And that's what I have. I did want to mention that this off-site sidewalk, nothing goes without being difficult. We have been negotiating the language about how that all works. We put in a kind of a placeholder that said that we do a DA regarding the off-site sidewalk. We have been able to work out, I think, today, language for an actual condition. And with your blessing, we'd like to be able to work with staff to put that into the conditions for the board so that we can all avoid a development agreement. As it takes a lot of time, it comes to you as a public hearing item, it's the county attorney's office staff, the county engineer, it's a whole bunch of time. I make a lot of money on it, but other than that, having an actual condition that sets forth the terms of how we do this off-site sidewalk is much preferable. I wish it was in your agenda packet, but it's been a lot of work. But I think we've got it figured out this morning, so I wanted to update you on that as well and see if you're comfortable. If you decide to recommend approval of this, if we can change the condition that requires a DA and replace it with an actual condition of the terms of how we do this off-site sidewalk.
What I think is more important is to disclose the business terms of that, which is that you are building the off-site sidewalk, but your maximum contribution is $100,000.
Plus mobility fees.
Right. And then on for the site, related sidewalk, you're gonna get credits for anything above between the 5 foot and the 8 foot.
That's correct.
I want to make sure that was disclosed, that
Yes.
you're not building all of that for free.
Yeah, that's true. However, the client's commitment for the off-site portion, we didn't ask for any mobility fee credits. We actually are making a cash contribution of $100,000 towards that improvement and paying our mobility fees. Yes, for that difference between 5 and 8 along our frontage, that is mobility fee creditable against your bike ped portion. Thank you, Jane.
Any questions for? Yeah, so that 100,000, that's the maximum of what happens if?
You don't get that, Richard.
Yeah, the county's paying cash for the difference. It's something before the county, this offset.
That's part of the language that's being negotiated
Yes,
to deal with that.
yes, a cash reimbursement over 100,000.
I had a question on the, aerial, just that.
Remember, if the school district wants to kick in any money for this.
Well, that's your lane.
Yeah. Oh, the on-site stormwater to the north, I wanted to see a picture of that, because I didn't see it on there, And then other, on the side, while they're pulling that up, that Osley Drive, and all that stuff is to the south of the school.
It is. And there's a gap between the school and Rising Drive. But there also was a 1,000-foot queuing lane right there that was just put in, so for the schools so that everything functions better. But yes, there is a gap there that the county will, or maybe another developer will be able to do that piece.
Yeah, so I'm looking on the aerial here, I'm looking for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can probably see it better on the topo that's in the packet.
As we were queuing through, it was sort of in the northeast corner.
Yes, northeast corner and then there's a south, kind of west corner. Show some a dip in the topo map. And it's also on the concept plan as well, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, right there. Tracks,
Okay, I can see that.
okay. And then also I wanted to know, like, the property owners, the same property owner to the north, that gets developed. Make sure we have that sidewalk there. too.
Yes, the county, you have an ordinance amendment in front of you today to even strengthen the county's current requirements for these types of facilities. Right now, the code would require today that they would, when a commercial piece comes in, they have to do a 5-foot sidewalk, but I know you have a code change before you today for your second review, to make that, to strengthen those requirements, so.
And that conditional use was approved in 2015, I saw. Is it
2005,
so it's still in effect, or is
It is.
the town
still
still
in, yeah. Still in, yeah.
Still there?
The other ones are still there, yes, as a matter of right.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Thank you.
all right, Barbara,
Okay.
there's something mentioned about the northern buffer.
Okay.
I was just wondering why we would need that right now.
So we have been asked to do binding plans and put more detail into our MPUDs. And so we're addressing things like our park location and our buffers and at the zoning level. That's why that is.
Bill, are they gonna put the buffer and then you're gonna have to take it down? It's not gonna be a, use for something commercial.
No, I mean, the buffer is on our side. So in the commercial, we'll have to buffer to the residential.
Okay.
Okay. John, we have anything to speak?
The first individual I have signed up to speak is a Julia Barcher. I apologize if I butchered your last name. The next individual that we have after that is a Linda Farmer.
Julie Horton, 2645 Meadowood Drive, Richey, Florida, 34655. And many residents in Shady Hills are really upset about the ongoing development and destruction of their green spaces, and they would like a pause in it. And technically waiting until the tree ordinance is in effect to continue potentially with this development. The sidewalks in Shady Hills need to be contiguous, not just one development at a time. The sidewalks need to be in place first. One of my friends' sons died, a teenager, as you well know, died a few days before Christmas one year on Shady Hills Road, going to a different school. So great to hear and grateful to hear that, you know, the developer wants to build sidewalks to the elementary school. That is wonderful, but we need all of the sidewalks in Shady Hills, all of the infrastructure built, and as always, advocating for building vertically and maintaining more tree spaces and tree canopies and wildlife areas, because that's why the residents in Shady Hills live in Shady Hills. Like one resident said, where is the shade going to be if all of the trees are gone in Shady Hills? Thank you.
The next individual I have signed up is a Miss Linda Farmer, and after that I have Miss Pasco Jen.
Good morning or good afternoon. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. I'm sorry I'm dressed like this. I was over at my house, which is 3 blocks away from where you're fixing to build this, and I'm deciding whether I want to live here or not anymore. I'm a resident of 60 years of Pasco County, Shady Hills. First thing I'm gonna try to keep
Just
the
state your
motion.
name and
Linda Farmer, 2751 Coach Street. I've been in front of you guys several times about the plastic plant, the Del Webb, the Corella development. She talks about the entrance to the school. That's just because of me. That's because I sat out on the side of Shady Hills Road and videotaped 3 lanes of traffic and accidents happening. I brought it to the BOCC. They got it done. She got it done. This is nothing against any of you guys. I respect all of you for the job you do. I respect the job that Barbara does. But let's get back to the basics. Pasco and Hernando have had problems with County Line Road for many years. It is a not functional road. I don't care DOT, whoever wants to tell me that I'm wrong, please do. I'm gonna tell you, on October 7th, 2025, Fernando County decided 5-0 to deny the development approval on County Line Road because it is a failed road. Now, this particular section, there's a median in the middle of the road. There's only one way in and one way out. You can't come out of that development, whether it be a development, commercial, whatever, come out of it and make a left-hand turn. You're 5 minutes from an intersection to County Line and Mariner. You would only be able to come in going west and go out going west, and then you'd have to turn around. The other option is an exit onto Shady Hills Road, which everybody seems to like to go to Shady Hills Road. Let me show you the exit of what we're driving on. This is at the end of Lancer. But I have to go out onto Shady Hills Road. It's falling apart. Hand this to her, and you guys can look at it. This is what we're driving on Shady Hills Road. So you want to pass that to them. It's a 1/4 inch thick. It sits on top of a bunch of sand. It's failing. Right, we're gonna get sidewalks. You know, you put the sidewalks down the entire side of the opposite road.
We have a motion to receive and file the debate.
So
Stop my time.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
I feel if this board passes this based on the fact that the county, 2 counties, Pasco and Hernando, cannot get their crap together over who's going to widen the road. It took forever to get white put a cobblestone because so many people died. No one should be approving any more development on County Line until County Line is widened. Bottom line, you've put the sidewalks down Shady Hills. Thank you for the development people doing that. It's on the wrong side of the road. The other side of the road has all the power lines going down it. So when they develop Shady Hills Road, do we take down the sidewalks that we just built, or do we move thousands of power lines out of the way? Somebody needs to go out and look. Because you started with a plastic plant, and then that just opened it up for everything else. And, I'm really upset that, listen, I lost my home and my acreage to the parkway, okay? We had a 10-acre farm. I accepted it, I moved on. I found me a nice little 3 acres off of Lancer and Shady Hills. Figuring on a dead-end road, who would ever come here to build around this area? I felt safe. I don't feel safe anymore. There's homeless people, there's drug addicts, there's so much. Your Sheriff Naco came in here and presented to you guys that we need sheriffs, and we're way behind in patrolling of sheriffs. He presented, I watched that. It was very damning evidence on how far we're behind on our infrastructure compared to how quickly you guys are building. And I know that they have the right to do what they want with their land. I am not saying that they don't have the right to do it, but what about us? What about the people that have lived there and put the roots down? The animals they're just running rampant. I mean, I don't have a lot of statistics for you today, except for the fact that it's a state road. And y'all can't make a decision on doing anything with it because you and Hernando can't get together and come to an agreement of what's gonna happen. So pushing something forward that you and another county can't even come to agreement on, I just find that's, and you can look it up. They denied it 5-0, and that's big for county commission to deny a developer. We all know that because they know they're gonna come back and get sued because y'all's hands are tied at this point. Developers can do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you letting me go over my time.
Just let me ask you one question. Where is your home in relation to this area there?
I am
South side?
I'm on the west side of Shady Hills Road. Lancer comes right out to where this is gonna be exiting onto Shady Hills Road. And it's sand. It's a sand pit, guys. It's a sand pit. They drive, it's a big giant, super giant bowl of sand that they ride their 4-wheelers in. I'm gonna be on it like stink on shit watching them get the turtles out of there. And if there's one turtle left, I don't care. I'm gonna call. I'm just tired. We have no shade. We have no trees left. We have no land left. Our animals are getting ate up by the wildlife that's running through there. I had to call FWC on 6 gators on the Del Webb development. 6 alligators were hit in Shady Hills, on Shady Hills Road, because they're back there digging in swamps. David Allen, where you at? I'm not sure where you're at. The water, go by Del Webb. Every reservoir in there is full because it's sitting on our aquifer. There's not one dry. There's no, when it rains, it's gonna flood. And that letter that I got back was that they're gonna push it back into the wetlands, that they're gonna direct the water back into the wetlands. That's not acceptable to me, so I sent off a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers. But this is what I'm driving on. Last week, I had to put two different times, I got screws and nails and shit in my tires because of all the construction trucks that now drive up and down the road because it's a major industrial area. And, you know, it was farmland. It's a little ass road, it was supposed to be farm, and it's not anymore, and I'm sorry that I'm upset. Follow me on my Facebook page. Mr. Moody, you do, you know that I'm out there, you know that I'm bringing information, and I'm trying to get people to come here. Man, they work. They can't take a day off of work to come here, they live paycheck to paycheck. They can't. You guys have not y'all, I'm not blaming you guys. Jack Mariano, I'm holding him personally responsible for letting $1 million with paid for Pasco be paid to Gary's Plastic to incentivize them to come down here to destroy Shady Hills. And I'm not letting it go.
Thank you very much.
The next individual I have signed up is Pastor Jen, and after that we have Miss Diane Brady.
Mr. Jen, we can get your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Pastor Jen Kerouac, Shady Hills Mission Chapel, 15925 Green Glen Lane, Spring Hill, Florida. I'm here and I have a lot, so I'm just gonna try and plow through it best I can. August MPO meeting, 4 out of 5 county commissioners requested the MPO, 4 out of 5 being Commissioner Mariano, Commissioner Yeager, Commissioner Oakley, and Commissioner Waitman, all advocated to put Shady Hills Road up at the top of the priority list. And this is as a result of safety issues. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, and I'm gonna try and get through this, but one of my church members, she was one of us. And her name's Benita, and Benita was just killed at Little Ranch in Shady Hills Road. Before that, April 1st, right at the corner of my church lot, a young man killed. You know, so I know that the commissioners see that this is a priority and there is a need, and I'm sorry. I do not think the current Florida State CFO would agree with allowing and giving credits for sidewalks when we're gonna tear them up and expand the road, hopefully within the next 5 years. And I would say that it doesn't matter who the land attorney or the developer is. It is of no disrespect, but a respect to the people of Pasco County, where we are giving credits. Respect to those that have lost their lives because they can't safely travel. Those that have been in car accidents and increased insurance rates. I mean, there's a whole plethora of things that we are facing. Everyone in here is facing it. I looked before I came here, currently on the MLS, we have 11 months of vacant housing, 11 months of inventory on the MLS as of October. As of October, 15% of all homes in Pasco County, not those being built, those are not factored in, 15% of all homes in Pasco vacant. 20% of the apartments that we continue to approve, vacant. No affordable housing, to my knowledge, I could be wrong, but since I've paid attention and because it's very important to me and the community that I serve. And then I go back to when I was first here and Mr. Moody said, we need to look at Shady Hills to make them into something with a city center, something that the people can come around, something where it is okay for people to walk their kids to school, that it is okay to have all these things done to make them profitable. The idea that we have a design at 41 and 52 on the southwest corner where we have businesses downstairs and we have units upstairs for sale, for rent. Why would we take what could be tax base income for the county, taking commercial or the potential and just putting in 160 townhomes? Secondly, it's my understanding, and I could be wrong as well, but that entitlement of multifamily, when I do my research, according to what I find in Pasco County Land Development Comp Plan, it's good for 6 months. And then you have to come back and you have to, if you don't bring anything else forward, if you're not moving, if you don't have a site plan on it, that's why they're here, because it's still commercial property. Why can't we work together to make this a good place to improve the lives of those in Shady Hills? Not just put sidewalks. My folks appreciate it, but again, they're getting killed while we're waiting for something profitable for the community. So I'm just asking, and the traffic study, there's a new edition, so it was the old edition. And I did my best to do the most research that I could to come here and just ask you, 30 months to catch up per development from the sheriff. 30 months. So are they like 10 years out now? Because there's so many developments. So I just ask today that you at least continue it. If you choose not to decline the rezone, I ask that you continue it so that we can work together. According to the Jobs and Economic Opportunity Committee, I've been to all these committees, and these are the things that they're talking about. They're not talking about more townhomes. There's 450 she got a couple months ago for one of her, and I say Miss Wilhite, I don't mean that disrespectfully. And I'm trying to, I know my time is up and I appreciate allowing for additional time, but I really am not here to bash or belittle anybody. I'm just looking for a way that we can do the thing that in the beginning of 2023, and that's the picture I painted for folks, that if they're gonna continue to develop, let's advocate for something that will truly lift this community up. Thank you for your.
Excuse me, but one thing I think you do tend to overlook, the fact that this property in the past was already approved for over 400 units. What we're doing is a significant step forward. We're taking it down to 160 units. And I think that's a big improvement on what somebody could have done there. I think it's a big consideration for the landowner there. So we have to consider everybody's concerns, not just the people that live there. We have obligations to everybody in this county. And you can't always look at the downside. There's only certain things we can do. And one of the things we're doing is we're encouraging people not to build as many units on the property as they now can put there. And the difference between 160 and 430 is a big drop. And it should be, you should see it as a big success at this moment. So, when we deal with properties where they already have units approved there, then that's a different story. But this property was approved for a lot of units, and we just got rid of most of them. So you need to think about that too.
Jen, just point of correction. First meeting you were here wasn't when I suggested a town center, and I still urge staff to resolve the conflict zonings along Shady Hills Road so that they can have some commercial development, they can have some services out there. There's no place for these folks to get groceries. But when you were here that first meeting, it was when Barbara was presenting Del Webb. Had your followers here, the folks from Shady Hills here, and you were complaining about the curve. There are many crosses, there are many monuments on the side of the road. And on that day, I said that needed to get fixed. and Ms. Wilhite went to her developer and they gave the county the right of way to fix that curve. And it's because you've come here and advocated for Shady Hills that these things are getting done. And it's because you've come here that this development is being presented in the form that it's being presented. The developer is building a sidewalk down to Shady Hills Elementary. He's not building a 5-foot wide sidewalk, he's building an 8-foot wide sidewalk. He's reducing the density. And I told you on that same day, you are being heard, but Rome is not built in a day. You are being heard. And the reason this development is presented the way it is today is because you are being heard. We do see Ms. Farmer's posts on Facebook. We do recognize the deaths that are happening on Shady Hill Road. Ms. Wilhite went out of her way to get a 1,000-foot, along with Commissioner Mariano, to get a 1,000-foot turn lane built to accommodate the school opening. You are being heard. We are listening to you. And to Mr. Gray's point, there's 400 and something units already approved. We don't approve this today, someone could go build 400 apartments and maybe there'll be Section 8 apartments. You guys are worried about problems out in Shady Hills, that'd be the last thing you need. So I actually think this is an improvement, but I urge you to keep coming here. You are being heard, keep pushing. Shady Hills has been moved up on the priority list because of your activism. Keep doing it.
One other point I wanted to add too on something you mentioned, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, existing right of way for the 2-lane Shady Hills is 66 feet, but it's 124 feet proposed for the widening of Shady Hills at some point. And this applicant is actually dedicating an additional 29 feet, which is their half of that right of way to this project in order to facilitate the eventual widening of that. So you mentioned, building a sidewalk that's gonna have to be torn up. Well, it doesn't look like that's the case based on the plans that they have submitted. And they have dedicated the additional right of way to be able to widen that road without having to move the sidewalk they're built. So that's, again, if I'm incorrect, correct me, but that's the way it looks on this plan that was submitted, so.
Well, I would like Mr. Semino or staff to address that issue, which is whether the sidewalk will need to be torn up when Shady Hills is widened. Because I don't think that was staff's intent, was to do credits for a sidewalk that would have to be torn up. So I just want that to be clarified on the record.
County Attorney, there was a receive and file for the road debris. Do you want us to retain that for the record?
Yes.
If so, then we need the rocks. Excuse me, the road debris.
I think.
Where did the rocks go?
We got it there.
Wherever the rocks, they get into the clerk, that'd be great.
Retain them for the record. I'll need it back.
They come with it too.
Easy to take home. Thank you.
Whoever can speak to the allegation that the sidewalks are gonna be torn up when the road is widened.
Yes, Joe Semino, WRA Engineering, 12363 Hampton Park Boulevard, 33624. Good afternoon. We are giving up 29 feet of right of way, and the proposed plan that you did see shows us putting that sidewalk all the way at the back of that right of way as far as we can go along our 2,000-foot property frontage. South of our property to the school, there is luckily enough right of way to get it in now, as we've coordinated with the county engineer to be safe. I'm not sure what the improvement plans look like south of our property, but there's plenty of room now to put that sidewalk in south of our property to the school. I don't know what modifications will be needed to it in the future, but again, for our 2,000 foot of frontage, we are backing it up as far as we can to the extent of our right-of-way dedication, so we'll never have to move from that location.
Thank you. So is there anyone from staff that can confirm that 124 feet of proposed right of way, that's inclusive of the widening of Shady Hills Road as well as any additional sidewalks that are proposed?
need to speak.
While they are finding the answer to that question, we did have one more individual signed up.
Right, we know that, so we're gonna make sure they can speak. Go ahead, William, clarification, William.
Staff first.
Yeah.
I didn't wanna cut in line. William Vermillion, Planning Development Economic Growth. Yes, so to confirm Mr. Ponless point, it is a 124-foot urban typical section. The county may, in that urban typical section, when we spoke with the county engineer, he's not here, eventually turn that 8 feet into a 12-foot multi-use path, but of course that would happen moving towards the travel lanes within that 124 feet.
So within the 124 feet, that's enough room to accomplish the widening that the county wants to do, as well as have enough room for this path.
Correct, that is the exact dimensions of the right of way typical.
Bottom line is the sidewalk they're building will not need to be ripped down.
That is correct, like Mr. Semino said, specifically along their project boundary. And then to the extent of the PD&E happening, fitting their sidewalk improvements to the south with the right of way constraints.
It does. The children have a safe place to walk until the road is widened. If it means we gotta spend whatever money it is to keep the kids safe, then so be it.
Okay, man, are you waiting to speak?
Yes, I'm ready.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike.
You give us your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Diane Grady. I live at 18135 Rolls Royce Place. Sorry for my blended accent. It's in, off Bosley in the Shady Hills area. I have submitted numerous requests since my children were in elementary school. I'm getting to this point. I did submit a request to have a traffic light at Bosley. And it was surveyed, but later, the traffic light is at the fire station. And I was told that traffic lights will be required at all fire stations. This is the last observation that I submitted. I said, Shady Hills is a busy road all day and night. The entire Shady Hills Road. Hernando County residents use Shady Hills Road as a shortcut or bypass to the Suncoast Parkway. I hear, in the, it's nonstop from, also Hayes Road to Soft Wind. That's another issue. I just said that, it impacts the Shady Hills residents to turn north or right. I have to wait. One time I counted and I had to wait for 100, minimum 20 cars to pass by. Maximum like 100, I count instead of tens. And I do like the idea of the sidewalk on Bosley. However, Shady Hills Road needs more lighting. It is very dark at night. And Go Pasco recently stopped the bus line in that area. It was on the news. It was on ABC Action News. And a lot of people ride their bikes at night, especially late at night, and walk. And also I'd like to mention how there will be a new Walmart, neighborhood Walmart store in the Walgreens shopping plaza. And I have this was according to SRS, as S is in Sam, R is in Robert, S is in Sam, Capital Markets website. 20,000 cars use Shady Hills Road per day. And 28,600 cars use Mariner Boulevard per day. And there will be the Wendy's is open. So again, the Walmart neighborhood store will be on County Line Road, again, behind McDonald's. Also, I just have to complain about drivers. I submitted requests to Pasco County Sheriff's Department also, that some drivers, they pass in a no passing zone. I'm just concerned about this section where we're talking about from County Line Road to Shady Hills Elementary, I agree that there is no turning left lane, and also there's I forget, there's a street. So will there be a traffic light at that street or a caution sign? Because this is going to, the traffic will be backed up from County Line Road to Little Ranch Road, where the fire department is. And again, this will impact people who live behind Bosley. I do apologize if I'm as I always say, people may not be familiar with the area, but our area is as much as tension as Trinity, Newport Richey. Yes, I played in neighborhood games. So my concern is a safety concern, as Pastor any other person mentioned, that there are too many people who walk, they're pedestrians. It's just a safety issue. And especially people do not, the drivers do not slow down for men working. Men are currently working on different parts of the street, and drivers are not slowing down at all. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No,
I mean, are you familiar with Shady Hills Road?
Oh, yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, have you ever sat like different parts? Like if you sat at the small post office, or I mean at the Dollar General?
Yeah.
So it's, I've made so many observations. I was told to make to submit them online instead of calling, but.
Use Shady Hills Road regularly
Mhm.
and will continue to advocate for the people of Shady Hills.
I understand, some people say, oh, I don't go over there.
I understand, but it doesn't seem like it's happening fast enough. But it's because you all have come out to these meetings and participated in these discussions that things are happening and they've been made a priority.
Yes, and I'd like to make one more suggestion for the elderly people. I mean, not elderly people, I'm saying for the elderly. If Jack Mariano could make more of a representation, have a town hall at the park, their voices need to be heard. Because there is no bus. I mean, I know Go Pasco is trying to work a service for them, but if we have more commissioners concerned about the area, that would make a difference. Okay, but thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Well, you have a comment on some of these questions?
Okay. Before we're going in plain development, first some clarification about asking for signalization at some of those roads. We do have budgeted for fiscal year 26, a traffic signal at Bosley Drive, which was mentioned, as well as a traffic signal in fiscal year 26 at Little Ridge Road. Both roads were mentioned. The county is working on signalization there within this fiscal year.
So you have signalization scheduled for Bosley and where?
Little Ranch Road.
Little Ridge. Okay.
Yes, sir.
William, I have a question for you. So I'm looking at the access management analysis, and it says the County Line Road and Shady Hills are gonna function fine. Shady Hills and Shady Road are gonna function fine. My question is, it assumes a 3% background growth rate. Are you comfortable with that rate of growth? Given the going on in this area?
Steve's here, and I do think it's important to note that it's not a blanket 3%, it is 3% compounding out to the build out date, which was assumed. So I know that 3% seems small, but it's actually a third higher than the minimum that the code would allow. So I can let Steve speak to why he derived 3% instead of the 2% minimum for his historical growth assumptions in the access management. I would say that is, in numbers terms, that is a good deal higher than the minimum allowed by the code for historical growth at 2% compounding.
Is it?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have no other individuals signed up to speak.
Is there anybody online to hold?
There are no individuals signed up on comments.
I think a lot of your back and forth and staff's discussion has addressed most of the public comment. I did note that the first speaker talking about sidewalks need to be in place first. the condition that we have is prior to the final building inspection for the first residential unit, that sidewalk down to Shady Hills Elementary has to be constructed. So we get that. Obviously, we can't solve all the problems with Shady Hills Road, and we're doing it incrementally, but this sidewalk will be in place down to the school before the first child is in our neighborhood. So I wanted to point that out.
And I know it's unrelated to this case. But at Del Webb, the developer gave the right of way to fix the curb. It wasn't the developer's obligation to fix the curb. That would be the county's obligation.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay.
That's correct. And the conditional use isn't good for 6 months. It's actually good. There is no time period on a conditional use.
What is the, I don't know if this is a question for you, Barb, or for the county, but what's the standard for requirement of lighting on a road like that when you put a sidewalk? Can you answer that
Not
question?
Sure. I think that the conditioner MPUD requires us to comply with the code, but I am not sure how the lighting works.
Anybody from the county have that answer? There's a. Are you on the C, William?
I'm on the hunt. I'm gonna pull up that section of code that the COA's reference.
Okay, well, it was brought up, so I think if we can get an answer, at least we'll have some idea what to expect.
There's nothing in our code that requires you to light a street or a sidewalk. We have lighting standards that limit the amount of light spill from a site. In other words, I can't light my parking lot up so bright that it keeps you awake through your window at night, but we don't have any requirements that I'm aware of that.
And it doesn't have a criteria for.
To light the public right of way. That would be something the county works out with the power company.
What's the William, what's the code section, see what it says?
Yeah. I'm gonna understand it. That's what I would think.
Sure. Can everyone hear me from?
Yes.
Mr. Moody's correct, 90111, which is what we're referencing here for the street lighting. Is the internal portions of the MPUD that are bound by that section of code. The actual right of way that the county has would be power company and the county working that out.
It would be, is there a criteria? Like when that should occur?
Can't be just at the whim of the county to.
That'd be probably a question for the county engineer. You might need to look in the FDOT green book to see if there's some.
There's sections of 54 that are unlighted. Near little roads.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get them some relative expectation, you know, and it's not the developer's responsibility, but it is.
I should say, I can't imagine that if the county's going to make a 4-lane urban section through Shady Hills, that there will not be some roadway lighting that goes along with it.
There is a condition of approval 22D that the method of lighting for all non-local roads will be submitted at time of the record class submittal for each unit or phase. So this being a non-local road.
There'll be a
We'd
plan.
be submitting it, the method of lighting at the record class submittal for each unit or phase of development.
Interesting to me, the county doesn't have any standard, I mean, there's a standard for interstate roadways, for example, there's all interchanges are.
There may be a standard, I just don't think we have a person here to answer that question.
Yeah, it's.
It's just saying it's not a land development code
No.
requirement, it'd be a roadway design.
It's a roadway.
requirement.
They probably knew the answer 30 years ago when I was first here. I don't remember it anymore.
It's on the fence.
Right.
Well, if anybody would, you would, I'm sure. That's why I asked you, just wanted, but, okay, well, I think we got the answer. We don't know the exact time, but we know what's required. So hopefully that answers some of the questions of the people in the audience there that had questions about lighting. Okay, are any other questions?
And the question is, as far as that roadway being built, what's the timeline for that?
That's $1 million question, multi-million-dollar.
I don't think it's in the 5-year CIP. The question is, where is this in any longer term plans?
I think they didn't just move it up recently.
I don't know that it's actually been moved up. I think there was a desire to move it up. I don't know that it actually has.
The board directed that the project be moved up as a priority. That was about maybe a month and a half ago.
Right.
So I don't know if the status is, the biggest Constance knows about that because it's a county capital improvement program.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the study that was done. It says there's no improvements in the 5-year CIP.
Good afternoon, Panos Conces, Assistant County Engineer, working for the Transportation Engineering Department. Mr. Engel correctly said that we got a direction from the board to move up the priority for Shady Hills for the widening, excuse me. However, we are waiting for the new budget to take into effect, to amend the budget, to introduce the route study. There is a process to follow to do the widening of Shady Hills Road. First, we have to do the route study to assess where the widening is gonna happen, on the east side, on the west side, or center. So we'll have to look at different alternatives. That route study, I estimate, based on past experience for similar projects, will take about 2 years to complete. Then we have to go into the design phase, which is also about 2 years. And then we have to go into the right-of-way acquisition, because obviously we will need right-of-way to accommodate the 4 lanes of Shady Hills. And then, of course, we have to go to construction. So it's gonna be a lengthy process, it's not just gonna happen tomorrow. The widening is gonna take some time.
But I think the question is, when do you plan to put the route study in the 5-year CIP? Because that starts the process.
Yes, that's the goal. You know, that's why I said we will try to amend the budget for fiscal year 26 to include the route study.
So hopefully in the next fiscal year, getting the process started,
We'll
basically.
start, yeah, the route study.
Okay, well, could you hurry it up a little bit?
We'll try.
The good thing is we're in next year, it's fiscal 26 as of October 1.
There you go.
Well, and he's saying very politely, and honestly, a little more. Part of the problem is that we have to go through a lot of steps because to acquire the right of way.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the Barbara's client is all of her clients have dedicated the right of way, but unfortunately, there's a lot of property owners that have not. And so the process we have to go through to condemn all that right of way is not a fast process.
There's a lot of residential.
If everybody doing it as the right of way, we probably build this road twice as fast as what you just mentioned.
Pastor Jen, if you're listening, you need to get out there and get that right away.
Rally the property owners and have them dedicate their 29 feet
But
each side.
But I mean, but we sort of have to figure out where, we have to do some preliminary route study and design to figure out who needs to give us the right of way first. I mean, that's
correct.
we can knock on doors, we have to design it.
Right, so, yeah, it might be 60,
Yeah.
6 feet on one side and no feet on the other side.
Thank you very much. I think that's it. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Everybody's had a chance to speak. Motions, please. Any motions?
I'd move to approve item PC2. This is a net benefit to the community. I understand the passions of the people in Shady Hills. But at the end of the day, the choice we have today is 400 and some odd apartments or 160 platted townhomes. I'll take 160 platted townhomes over 400 apartments any day.
Yeah, I agree. We have a second.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion of the motion?
I just wanted to state on record that I'm not generally in favor of converting commercial to residential in accordance with policy flu 187. That said, obviously, like Mr. Moody said, this was approved over 10 years ago for almost triple the density what the applicant's providing or proposing. And I think this is the right move considering what's already in place and what's already approved, so. Just want to state that for the record.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries.
I will also point out just for the record, we no longer allow as a conditional use. We do, but it's one of the work we use for
Market area.
this
This kind of stuff.
this kind of thing can't happen in our code.
Okay.
Good afternoon, planning commission members. Kurt Syverson, planning development, equity growth.
You have to have some silence back there if you don't mind, but try and present.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, planning commission members. I'm Kurt Syverson, planning development and economic growth. Presenting the Rowan Industrial and PDE 267882. Located in West Pasco County, the site's location is illustrated by the red star. We're in Commissioner Yeager's district. Petition today is a rezoning request from a PO2 professional office district to an MPUD master plan unit development for the maximum development of a 20,000 square foot building following the I-1 light industrial uses of LDC section 528. In red, we see the MPD boundary located immediately east of Rowan Road, approximately 400 feet north of the Rowan Road and Plath Road intersection. This site is abutting immediately south of Alderman Lane, a private residential roadway. The development does not propose a connection or utilization of Alderman. The site maintains a PO2 professional office zoning classification, the boundary illustrated in pink. The current future land use is Res 6, residential 6 dwelling units per gross acre, illustrated in pink. A change to the future land use by small scale comprehensive plan amendment, CPAS 24(11), petitions to amend the site's future land use classification from Res 6 to IL, industrial light, supporting the MPUD user. The comprehensive plan amendment has been given a recommendation of approval by the planning commission and heads to the Board of County Commissioners for adoption, slated for the 12/9 public hearing. The Rowan Industrial MPD has been conditioned that the MPD requires adoption of such comprehensive plan amendment by condition of approval number 35, reading, this MPD shall not be effective until the corresponding industrial light IL future land use classification change is effective. Here's our context map. The surrounding built environment perspective, the Rowan Industrial MPD is characterized by both residential communities and a non-residential development pattern. The residential users are primarily single-family detached homes and multifamily residential complexes. The non-residential pattern here is mostly comprised of commercial users. Abutting immediately south is a business user. At the intersection of Rowan and Plath is a gas station. East of the site, we observe the Cody River Elementary School. Quarter mile south is a Marine Corps facility, and a quarter mile north are multiple commercial users. Here's our MPD master plan. The master plan illustrates the site as one parcel, boundary in red, which is inclusive of the total 1.8 acres. Requested is a maximum entitlement of 20,000 square feet, and the sought uses are the I-1 light industrial uses, LDC section 528. Access of the subject development is illustrated by the arrows on Rowan Road. A variation has been requested by the applicant from LDC section 805, specifically 805.6, restrictions on post-development wetlands and upland buffers within residential lots and non-residential parcels. The request is to ensure parcel owner maintains and is responsible for the open space, drainage areas, common areas, landscape areas, wetland areas, buffer areas, preservation, conservation areas, and other special purpose areas without plating or conveyance to a CDD. PDE is amenable to this request as it accomplishes the intent of 805.6, being that maintenance of this area takes place even without a CDD.
In conclusion, PDE recommends approval of rezoning petition item PDE 267882. Thank you for your time and consideration. Here, if you have any
Do
questions.
you want to address this petition that was handed out?
Yes, sir. The applicant has voluntarily agreed to remove uses of the I-1 zoning district by approval of this MPD. I intended for the applicant to explain this, but the applicant has agreed voluntarily to forego the following uses of the I-1 zoning district: boat manufacturing, laundry or clothes cleaning or dyeing establishments, crematory, recycling operations, shooting ranges, medical waste disposal facilities, auction houses, construction and demolition debris disposal facilities, yard trash disposal facilities, and wholesale storage of chemicals, gasoline, or liquefied petroleum gas.
Any questions? Applicant present? Anyone here to object?
Good afternoon again, Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard. The change to condition 25 came as a result of our neighbor, Mr. Kohler, Mr. Dan Kohler, contacted the county contacted me. Mr. Girardi actually talked to Mr. Kohler, who's one of our neighbors, and they discussed these particular uses that are in the code as being concerns. So we took every one of those uses that were discussed between Mr. Girardi and Mr. Kohler and put them into this condition. That's how this came to be. And I did hand out to Mr. Kohler, to him, this list, and he's gonna speak. I know he has a few things he wants to ask still, but I think this is agreeable to him, but let's let him speak if we could, and then, we'll do any follow-up,
Barbara,
after that.
Just for clarity, can you explain why this came in as an MPD instead of just including an I-1 district?
Sure, so the I-1 district has, 150-foot setback, which kills a lot of it's an industrial killing, open yard requirement. The staff has had it on their list to update that requirement, but we had to bring it forward as an MPD. Actually, our comp plan came to you a long time ago. The comp plan to industrial has been sitting while we had to come for an MPD. I know staff is working on amending that section of the code because by definition, light industrial doesn't have adverse impacts. That's what's the difference between by code, light industrial and heavy industrial. Light industrial doesn't have adverse impacts or it wouldn't be allowed. It would have to be in heavy industrial. So you have this difference between saying that light industrial can't have adverse impacts, but then requiring very, very large open yard setbacks, which don't, in my opinion, have much of a purpose. So what we did in this case is we built, here's where this property is, here's how big it is, here's what's around it, and we built the setbacks, the buffering to the property, into this particular project. And that took a while to bring forward and it's quite expensive for the client. Hopefully you'll get where you'll be updating your code with staff so that we don't have these issues with industrial. And we have a more appropriate setback for light industrial, but that's the reason why you see this as an MPD. I'll have a variance. I did a variance not too long ago regarding this issue, and I have another one coming up. So hopeful to work with staff to bring forward and fix the code so we don't have to do some of these things that take time and cost property owners quite a bit of money.
Okay, any questions?
Condition 5. You look at that, and I'm not sure where we're involved in it, the county.
So I think that's just saying that whatever association they create, first of all, they have an exception at the very end of this that says they're not gonna do this for if it's all under one ownership, which they're probably going to do. But The reference to the school board just says that any common association or CD not include school board property. That's standard language. that Put it all zoning conditions to make sure that you're not subject to any CDD or HOA assessments. That's for your benefit.
Yeah.
Unless you want to start paying those.
No.
But you're gonna pave in a road?
He's trying to get it.
Well, how's it take any money that you can give us for? Chris doesn't ask those questions.
Okay, I think we have one person wanting to speak. Come forward, please. State your name and address.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Kohler, 7319 Alderman Lane. If it's possible, they can bring up the Google map picture of the said property. This will give you guys a little bit of insight.
Sure.
Yeah, can you zoom in a little bit? Okay, so if you see where the yellow dot is, you're gonna see that house right there. That's my house. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I don't know the exact date, deep construction was involved. They went ahead and got preliminary plans involved with a set detention pond. That is my biggest concern, which I know it has nothing to do with you guys at this point. It's in reference to the rezoning. I did talk with them. They worked with me. Extremely happy. They met my requirements. I'm extremely happy. My biggest thing goes out to Mr. Moody. I understand he's in stormwater. I'm only concerned is when I built my property, that wasn't there yet. They had a preliminary plan and set to put their retention pond at Alderman and Rowan. Problem with that is my leach field is 75 feet from that said location. So I understand that's not your problem. I'm just concerned about the setbacks that they're asking for. If I understand correctly, I had wetlands on my property. I was not allowed no setbacks. I just want to make sure it meets the building codes. And then I want to make sure the land development code is going to be enforced and not given extra room to commercialize this, because this is an investment, guys. This isn't their home. That wiped out my savings to build my home for me, my wife, and my grandchildren. If they go with that said property and they're not held to setbacks for wetlands, for drainage, what does that do to me? Does it take out my leach field? I have nowhere to put my leach field. My leach field could not go in the backyard per the health department for the reason of setbacks due to wetlands. So I just don't oppose it as long as they're not given more room than what I wasn't allowed to have when I built and when I asked for room. Because mine was a nightmare to get my house built on said land. And I had to jump through a ton of hoops. So I don't want them to be given extra room to maximize their profit and maximize their portfolio at a working man's loss. I don't have 20 grand to relocate. That's my only concern. But otherwise, I don't appeal it. I'm for the growth. I'm for development in our community. That's how we make money and that's how our economy grows. But we also can't maximize that lot if it's gonna affect my lot. Because we also have another big development that's coming directly behind it that just got funded. And that's gonna be the Commons at Spirit Village. So we also gotta take that into effect. So I'm not opposed to it. I just don't like the wetland setback to maximize what their building lot is.
So, which property is yours again?
I'm the corner lot, right there with the arrows, right there. Yes, sir.
So we're gonna be careful here, because I think the preliminary plan that you're
Was
talking to was
before I was
prepared by
built.
my colleague down here. So I'm gonna speak in generalities. Two things. 62.6, which is the section of the Florida Administrative Code that controls septic systems, doesn't allow a retention pond within 15 feet. High water mark of the retention pond in that septic system.
Yes. And we're benchmarked, I think, at like 20-something inches already. So that was my only concern.
Also, very common. I have to ask Mr. Girardi because I think he was the engineer for that system. But it's not uncommon. Go to the water management district and get a permit for a retention pond if there are nearby septic systems that they ask you to provide a groundwater mounding analysis that demonstrates that the groundwater mound created by the retention pond does not intercept or interfere with the operation of the septic system. That's also common with wells too.
Yeah, because my well's also, I think, 150 feet.
And I can't speak to the specifics, but I think Jamie did design that. So.
Yeah, so that's, like I said, I'm pro it. I'm not against it. Like I said, my only thing I am gonna object to is the variance of them, so they're maxing out the lot. Because I was held back because I'm wetlands, my back half of my yard, my neighbor's wetlands half backyard. He had 37 feet of water in his backyard. I had 23 feet of my water in my backyard in the last storm we had last year. So I think we need to make sure it's gonna fit that property before we okay and say, hey, they can maximize a lot. And then what does it do to the water coming down Alderman Lane, and where's that water get directed to?
One, we're in the zoning here. We're not looking at the site-specific design. We're looking at whether the zoning is appropriate, compatible with the area, and this isn't the right place to put this type of zoning. But I can assure you that they have a lot of hoops to jump through to get approvals to build. We have a 1,500+ page land development code. Then they have all of chapter 62-330 of the Florida Administrative Code dealing with stormwater to deal with. They've got transportation issues they're gonna have to deal with, utility issues they're gonna have to deal with. They're not going to get a license to pave the site from one end to the other and start building that tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of eyes that look at this before this is all approved.
Which I understand that, and going back to what you said, I understand it's not a site approval, but the approval they're asking for is also a zone variance, if I understand correctly.
Well, they're asking for some variations from the code, one of those being that they don't have to put any wetlands on the site under the control of a homeowners association or CDD, because this is intended to be a one owner site, so there won't be a homeowners association or a CDD. They're not proposing, I haven't heard any proposal in here to fill any wetlands or anything like that, so.
So even though, to clarify, because I'm a glass guy, I'm not built. Even rezone is not gonna change, they'll still be held to said land development codes, correct?
Okay, good. I just want to clarify one thing. So part of this process, the one arguable deviation they're doing in terms of setbacks is the 150-foot setback, but I believe that's only to the east. Is that right, staff? I don't think they're changing, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they're changing any.
Is it going back or?
Setbacks to the north. This property is to the north, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right here.
Are the setbacks they're requesting for the north side of their property any different than what the code would normally require?
No, sir, the variation would be to their eastern MF2 neighbor, which ordinarily applied by 528 would require 150 feet of open space for
What's the
industrial.
setback required to this gentleman's property?
Because that's my biggest concern is my leach field. Otherwise, they've been great to deal with. I just don't want to have an issue against build 6 months down the road after they build.
I hear you, I do. Hear you, but I'm gonna tell you this, I have 100% confidence in that gentleman over there who's the engineer for the site.
And that's
I've
why you
known
guys
him
are on
for
the board.
many years. He's not somebody who takes his job and his responsibilities lightly. He's not somebody that I've known has ever flooded anybody or.
Well, but I'm not even sure that you're voting on something that's, he thinks
Maybe a move.
happening.
Yeah.
He's saying he doesn't want us to grant some deviations from the code.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that you're granting any deviation from the code that would affect him, because I think the only deviation that you're arguably granting is the setback to the east.
Yeah, the only two things I had to conditional, there's actually 3 total, was the one which we agreed to, so that's the addendum, that was our discussion yesterday, which is amazing. And then my other 2 was the variance, just get clarification on the variance, to make sure that they can't max out that lot, and then it ends up 65 feet from my leach field. And then I just wanted to make sure they're still gonna be held to the.
To be clear, they are requesting a deviation from what would normally be the setback, but it's to the east side of the property.
And that wasn't.
I'm not sure how that affects you though.
We weren't given that information, I didn't see that, that's why I'm asking clarification on it.
So I don't think they're requesting any deviation on the north side, but.
David, can I ask you for a clarification?
Yeah.
And maybe it's better asked for staff. The zoning map shows that the property to the east is MF2, which is a residential type zoning.
Yes.
Okay. And the property to the north that this gentleman lives on, according to the map that's in our agenda memo, is agricultural residential. It's my understanding that the 150-foot clear yard setback applies to those areas adjacent to residential. So is staff considering that agricultural, or is it being considered residential?
I believe they consider it agricultural because they only identified, but I'll let staff answer because they only alerted to me that there was an issue to the east. This is a staff question, because the write-up only says that the 150-foot yard would normally only be required to the east.
Or the plan development economic growth. The code defines agricultural district to include AR agricultural residential, so it's considered.
So you're not applying the 150-foot free clear yard setback to the agricultural zoning.
Correct, and so what Kurt and Ms. Wilhite did was a type B buffer consistent with the 9052 matrix, the buffering in between industrial and residential.
Okay, and that buffer's 15 feet?
15 feet and then a 25-foot setback.
Is that from the property line?
Yes, sir.
So it'd be a total of 40.
Okay.
Excuse me, but, Jamie, you're the engineer for the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody just to confirm?
Yeah.
Okay. Jamie Girardi, Regency Design and Engineering, 9400 River Crossing Boulevard, Suite 102, Newport Richey. Just to clarify, a couple things, just for the record. Yes, we did do the design. The original design was done in 2010, and clearly the conditions out there today are much different than they were then. That prior approval is no longer good. We're gonna have to go back in and re-permit the project through the county's land development code and with SWIFMUD, the Water Management District of the state rules that John mentioned earlier. So this site is gonna be looked at again. There's a lot of things out there that are different that we're gonna have to take into account. And trust me, the agencies will give me plenty of hard time.
Okay, but you're agreeing that the setback requirement is not affecting the norm.
Well, I mean, again, the setback, I mean, they said the setback was from the property line, and we're gonna be far enough away from his leach field that the building setback was not gonna affect his leach field.
That's the only thing he seems to be concerned about. So.
Well, it's
Require
still,
stormwater.
it's still
Storage.
I just wanted to make sure that, you know, that one, yeah, so we got the clarification of that, I'm good there then, as long as. Which they did, they agreed to the addendum, which we did today for the conditions. I don't oppose, as he explained to me, and Ms. Moody said there's still gonna be held to the land development code, then I don't oppose it now.
I still don't think staff answered my question. The setback on the north side. Is it the same setback that they would have had to comply with if this had just been a normal, including district? I can't tell, so.
I think he said yes because the treatment is an agricultural property.
I've accepted staff answer that it doesn't require 150-foot. I'm asking, whatever setback is, you are imposing, what, is it consistent with what we normally require in the code?
This would be I1.
Chris Iverson. Yes, it is consistent. The 25 feet is consistent with the 528 front setback. In addition to a type B buffer, which is also consistent of that 5.
So. To answer the gentleman's question, the applicant is not requesting any deviation from what would be the normally required setback on the north side. Okay.
And just to point something out too, the reason that it's 25 feet on the north side is this is a corner lot, which has 2 front yards and 2 side yards. Had Alderman Lane not been there, then it would have been a side yard setback of only 15 feet, but because that street's there, it's 25, plus he still has the width of the street, which functions as a setback, because Alderman Lane is unimproved and impassable.
Okay, I think we're there. All right. Was there anybody else that needed to speak? If not, I hear a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion is second, further discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Move to note that Mr. Girardi is abstaining, of course.
Well, and in the motion, we clarify that's with the revised condition.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So I'll amend that motion to include the revised condition 25.
Still second, still vote aye.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Still has to go to.
Okay.
Six.
Mr. Chair, prior to beginning PC six and PC seven, would you like to take a break?
Yes, I would. Mind reading.
Good.
5 minutes, maybe 6.
So.
We're not gonna.
Right, all meeting to order.
So the next item that we have, general German plan development and economic growth. The next item that we have on the agenda is item PC 6, and you will be sitting as the local planning agency for this item. It's PDE 260022, an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, section 13.2 mobility to clarify the 2025 mobility fee schedules do not expire on December 31st, 2025, and then other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability and inclusion to the land development code and an effective date, presented by staff.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Vasilius Sopopoulos, Planning Development Economic Growth. I'm here to present the Land Development Code Amendment for Section 1302.2 Mobility Fees. Just to give some intent behind this update is to revise Section 1302.2 to reflect the appropriate applicability of the 2025 mobility fees that are currently set to expire at the end of this year. Our goal is to ensure that those mobility fees remain in effect until the board formally adopts new mobility fees in 2026. We're not currently proposing any adoption of new fees at this time. For some additional context, in 2021, the board adopted mobility fees for the years 2022 through 2025. At that time, there was intent to adopt new fees this year before the expiration. However, there's been a delay in completing the study due to coordination with the Pasco 2050 comprehensive plan update and a desire to obtain feedback from stakeholders regarding the rate increases. The project lead for the mobility fee study estimates proposed amendment for mobility fee rates to be brought to the LPA sometime early in 2026. With that in mind, I'd like to walk you through the proposed revisions. Starting with section 1302.2D, we're updating the language to reflect that the county will commence reevaluation and update of the mobility fee study no later than 12/31/25. Previous language stated that the county would conduct such studies by that date. Additional revisions include the removal of applicable dates 2022 through 2025 from the start of the posted fee schedules. And then finally, the removal of the end date of 12/31/25 from all 2025 mobility tables ensures that those fees will remain in place until the new fees are adopted. Staff recommends the local planning agency find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan. I'm available for any questions.
All right, any questions? None? Do you have any comments from City? We have a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second, further discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
The fastest you will ever do.
Used to. The record.
For item PC 7, you will also be sitting as a local planning agency for this item. It's PDE 260002, an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners, amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, section 522.9, Connected City Master Plan Unit Development District, section 901, Infrastructure Standards, section 901.1, Transportation Corridor Phasing, section 901.6, Street Design and Dedication Requirements, section 901.7, Bicycle Facilities, section 901.8, Pedestrian Facilities, Appendix A, Definitions, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability, inclusion into the Pasco County Land Development Code, and an effective date presented by staff.
Thank you.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Rebecca Bowe, Planning Development, Economic Growth. Here, again, to present PE 26002 Infrastructure Standards Plan Development Code Amendment. Okay, so really quickly, the intent of this ordinance update is to update certain portions of the code for internal consistency, consolidating sections 901.7 and 901.8 into a comprehensive section 901.7, providing enhanced standards for location and connectivity for our bicycle and ped network,
And we hope that these changes will strengthen the county's position to require land development projects to construct segments of our non-motorized transportation network. So as a recap from our last discussion on this item, there was concerns about requiring a multi-use paved trail exclusively on the south or east side. The general thought was that this policy was too rigid and raised several concerns, including potential impact on property values, challenges on diagonal roads, conflicts with existing alignments, and there would remain a need for pedestrians to cross the street to get from the sidewalk to a trail. So to resolve these issues, we are proposing a 10-foot multi-use paved trail on both sides of arterial and collector roads. This approach will simplify administration, create a symmetrical network, and support future updates to the county's typical sections. Some of the other conversations we had was that what we were proposing didn't exempt rural future land use categories, and that section 901.7 and 901.8 as they exist today currently do exempt anything below res 3. So to address those concerns, we've written in language to exempt agricultural, rural, residential 1 future land use from the requirements of this section, except where the zoning is an MPUD, and in that case, the county would retain the right to negotiate these facilities. All right, lastly, we discussed the payment in lieu option. There was some sentiment that that option should model the Pinellas County's system, which allows developers to build where the sidewalk is needed, rather than putting it on their site or adjacent to the site. So what we are proposing with our payment in lieu option functions similarly in situations where it's not feasible to construct a sidewalk or a multi-use path, or where there's already a path programmed in the CIP. The developer can pay the county, and then we can construct that path somewhere else that provides a benefit to the payer. I did review Pinellas County's land development code, so look for this particular process. I found one section in their code that spoke to this. It was applicable to subdivisions. And it explicitly stated that they can provide a sidewalk in other locations to overcome physical constraints where there is a benefit to the development. I didn't find in their land development code anywhere else where they have a payment in lieu option or an option to build the sidewalk somewhere else. I even called Pinellas County and they confirmed that there was nothing else written in their land development code that touched on this process. All right, so overall summary of our changes. We're making some updates for internal consistency. So 522.9 and 901.6, we're updating cross references. So everywhere the code says 901.7 and 901.8, we're updating that to the 901.7. Section 901.1, transportation corridor spacing. We are updating that to reference the current resolution, that's 19-136, and indicating that we will be placing the county typical sections in our development review manual, which we hope will make them easier to find. We're also adding some clarifying language to that section, which states that bicycle and pedestrian requirements, as stated in 901.7, are applicable to arterial and collector road designs. And we're updating 901.6 street design and dedication requirements. This is a minor update to allow friction course as an allowable road construction material. And a broad summary of our changes to the bike ped land development code. Currently, 917 and 918 are applicable to res 3 future land use or higher. On subdivision collector roads, they have to provide either a bike lane or a 12-foot multi-use path. Pedestrian facilities are required on all street types except for alleys. On collector and arterial, 5-foot sidewalks are required and 4-foot sidewalks on all other streets. What we're proposing is a land development code that would be applicable to all development sites except for agricultural, rural, residential 1 future land use, and it varies by street type. So again, we're proposing 10-foot multi-use paved trails on both sides of arterial and collector roads. 5-foot sidewalks on one side and 8-foot side or multi-use paved trails on the other side of a subdivision collector, and 5-foot sidewalks on residential roads. In addition, we're proposing pedestrian circulation and connectivity language. So this language would require all on-site uses to be linked via sidewalks. They have to connect to the external pedestrian and bicycle network. All principal structures have to be connected to each other. And parking lots with 100 more spaces have to provide a safe, direct path from the parking lot to the building entrances. A little later in our process in writing this code, we got some feedback that this particular section for the parking lots should require frequency requirements that specify how often sidewalks should be provided within the parking area. We're currently working on adding that into our draft, and we plan on adding it to the draft that we will bring to the Board of County Commissioners. Oh, and then our payment in lieu. So as I mentioned previously, we're providing a payment in lieu of construction option. So again, where it's not feasible to build a sidewalk or multi-use path, applicants can pay in lieu. We can use that money to build the sidewalk as long as it benefits the fee payer. This is our overall vision for the multimodal network we'd like to achieve. And the recommendation is that find the proposed amendments consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I'm here to answer your questions.
Fee for payment in lieu.
I think the plan right now is to have the developer provide a cost estimate. That cost estimate would then be reviewed by the county attorney, who would give it a stamp of approval.
Not the county attorney.
Or I'm sorry, county engineer. County
That was your
engineer.
cost estimate.
Got that one quick.
The county engineer would review it. He would get a stamp of approval, and then that would be the cost that we would use. And we like that method because it can accommodate different widths and construction materials that might have otherwise been required by the code.
Can I ask, who did you speak with at Pinellas County?
I don't recall her name. But if there's a process that they're using in Pinellas County, that's,
I would tell you to reach out to Gene Crossan,
okay,
who's the development review manager,
okay,
BRD down there. And it is their common policy that if you cannot build the sidewalk adjacent to your site, that you will go build the same length of sidewalk elsewhere where they need it.
and that, what I'm saying is that in their land development code, I didn't find any supporting language for that.
Just saying that's their policy and that's what they do. I've had it happen on multiple projects.
Understood.
Reason that I suggested that here. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against a payment in lieu. In fact, I've been behind the scenes lobbying for a payment in lieu for many years because my clients have built a lot of sidewalks to nowhere. The difference is this. My client can build a sidewalk probably half the price you can build one, and they can do it twice as fast. We want sidewalks, we want production. I don't mean this to sound insulting. So you understand there's a process, David, for demonstrating that you're taking only the right of way you need for a road. But the citizens in Shady Hills are screaming, we need a road, we need a road. And we're telling them, yeah, hold on for 6 or 7 years, you'll get a road. If you let the developer go build a sidewalk, or you give him his CO, they'll have the sidewalk today. Not 7 years from now, not when you get around to it, not when it's on somebody's CIP.
Not when there's 7 years of inflation on the money that was paid in.
Exactly. You'll get more sidewalks quicker. I'm not opposed to payment in lieu at all. I just hope that you would keep such an option open as a way to satisfy building a sidewalk regulation so that we can actually have sidewalks to somewhere and have them today, not 10 years from now. But that's all. Otherwise, I'm happy with this.
Can you flip back to the previous slide? Okay, So that's the big difference is we talked about the east and the south, I think, so now this is just splitting the difference and we're going on both sides everywhere.
Any other questions or
Can you
comments?
go back to your table, maybe it's 1 or 2 more slides?
This one?
Yes. So where's the 12-foot multi-use path go?
That's the piece that we're changing. So we were proposing a 12-foot multi-use path on one side, the south of the east side. And we've changed it to propose a 10-foot path
So
on
the
both
left
sides.
column is what it was.
Correct.
Right column is, okay.
So go back to the diagram again. So on your subdivision collectors, it actually isn't symmetrical, right? So it's 5 foot on one, 8 on the other.
Yes.
And that's on, is that the same situation? It's on the west and north sides where it's 5 feet and
No, in that particular section, we wrote language to say, put it on one side, but if there's an existing alignment, you have to build for that alignment.
The question about the graphic, for the vision roads, it says you want a 10-foot multi-use path on each side. It says 5-foot marked bicycle lane on roads 40 miles an hour or less. Does that mean you're gonna have a multi-use path and a bike lane? Or if it's a 40-mile-an-hour or less road, it'll just be the bike lane?
It means we have both, but if it's a 40 mile per hour or less road, it would be marked as a bike lane.
Say I'm not supportive of bike lanes. Pretty sure one of the commissioners will give you some pushback about bike lanes. I call them suicide lanes. Right? As soon as these things were invented and people could start texting and driving, riding your bicycle in a bike lane is a death wish.
Well, I've been advocating that we stop calling them bike lanes. Nobody ever listens to me.
Because you're an attorney.
Because to me, they basically function as the road shoulder. And I don't know why we keep calling them bike lanes, because they're effectively the breakdown lane. I mean, when your car, you need a place, when your car is broken down, you don't want people stopping in the middle of the travel lane.
Disagree with you.
So you need a place for people to pull to the side, and if that is, maybe we just need to stop calling them bike lanes and calling them the roadway shoulder. But that's the problem when you say eliminate the bike lane, is you're eliminating the roadway shoulder too. That's the problem.
The only thing that makes it a bike lane is that little diamond stripe
Yeah,
thing.
with
And
the
it
little bike
says
emblem.
bicycle
Maybe
lane.
we should start calling it shoulder/bike lane, but I want a place to break down when if my car is broken down. I don't wanna be stuck in the middle of the travel lane, so. Let's not forget about the people driving the cars too. They need a place.
Not opposed to a paved shoulder.
That's effectively what that is.
You have a 10-foot multi-use path, that seems to me you could ride a bike on that.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why it's called multi-use.
What I'm saying is that even if it is usable as a bike lane, it's also usable as and that's what the code makes it clear, is that it also functions as the shoulder. We're not gonna require you to do a bike lane and a shoulder. They're the same thing.
the irony of this is you lose that on a road 40 miles an hour or above, where you arguably need more width on, you know, the faster you're moving, you need more width to travel.
I don't think the intent is presented here is this is supposed to be a lane for bicycles. I'm just saying I'm not supportive of these lanes for bicycles adjacent to whether it be 30-mile-an-hour traffic or 50-mile-an-hour traffic or 70-mile-an-hour traffic. It's foolish. Half the time I see people riding down the wrong way down these bike lanes. I see people in wheelchairs riding into bike lanes. I get them off. That's why we're building these multi-use paths. If we need shoulders, I'm all about shoulders. That's fine. Get the bicycles off of adjacent to the
It might
track,
make
get them
sense
away from the
in
traffic.
very dense urban areas, you know, where it's 15 miles an hour or less or something like that, but.
Get hit by a car by 15 miles an hour, it still hurts.
Well,
No, absolutely.
my only point is if you have the width there, if you decide to take out the striping for bikes, it's still there as a shoulder. My concern is that if you don't at least require that width to be there, you have no shoulder. That's my
To
concern.
Derek's point, if the road was if the road is going to be designed for 45 mile an hour, then you wouldn't have a shoulder.
Right. You actually lose width of the road, which is counterintuitive for a faster speed limit.
Oh, probably need a shoulder there too, I don't disagree with.
One thing we need, just everybody needs to keep in mind is the right of way width doesn't change, so you start out in extra 5 feet for a sidewalk, extra 5 foot for multi-use trail, extra room for a shoulder, you're taking away green space, you're taking away landscape trees that. On the other side of the argument,
And that's the other place too, where you have to run those utilities, and so the next time you've got to dig up the broken water main, guess what you're fixing?
Sidewalks and roads.
Yeah.
I agree with David, I don't think we should call it a bike lane. 'Cause I think that's we're almost forcing people to ride in the lane because they think that's what legally is required.
Of course, none of that's in the purview of our committee, but it's on the record.
I mean, could you at least call it bike lane / shoulder, something so that it's clear that it's functioning, I mean, even the code itself. I think we put language in saying that you don't have to put a shoulder in a bike lane because it's the same thing.
Yes, the shoulder widths, the bike lane satisfies requirement for shoulder widths as well.
Right, so it should probably be labeled as a bike lane / shoulder, even if you want, even if we think it is gonna be. We can debate back and forth whether we should have bike lanes or not, but my point is that it's functioning as more than just a bike lane. So that should be, in my opinion, properly indicated on the graphic.
Okay.
Well, say this to your point. If it's a 5 foot wide shoulder, whatever we want to call it, you're still gonna block the right lane if you pull into it because your car broke down. So you're not gonna have any different effect on traffic because they're still gonna have to go in the next lane over to get around you if you're stopped. So it doesn't really matter.
Well, I don't know about that. I think because of our lane widths, I think that.
You guys made the lane widths from 12 feet to 11 feet, made them narrower. So respectfully disagree with that.
We don't have a county engineer here, I guess, or anybody from traffic ops to know whether that's enough.
I'm not providing false testimony here. They made them 11 feet width. Whereas the standard lane widths are 12 feet.
It's the average width of a car, 7, 8 feet. 7 vehicle, 7
6 and change.
7 feet, call it. So you're 2 feet, if you're 5 feet into all the way into the bicycle lane, you're 2 feet still into the lane.
They still got to go around.
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
still.
but you
only
might
have
have
9
to go a
feet
little
to
bit
go.
into the other lane, but it's still less.
I encountered the problem on US 19 this morning. When 2 people who had a bumper scratcher of an accident decided to pull off on the little shoulder in the median. And then that blocked the entire, that southbound US 19. We were forced to get in the other lane to go around. And then regardless, you have to go around that car. It's blocking the lane. The way they're not blocking the lane is if they pull off on that multi-use path.
Then maybe we need a wider shoulder then.
Well, with this, there'd be a curb there, correct? From the road level.
That would depend if it's an urban or
Yeah,
rural
if it's rural, if it's rural, it's less of an issue because you can just pull in the grass too. I mean,
Right.
I've
Well,
been-
that'd have to stabilize shoulder.
Yeah, so there's a curb. Makes it more difficult to pull off of the road to the grass in an emergency situation.
So I pulled up at least one of our typical sections, as adopted in 19-136, if that helps provide any context.
So where's the curb in this?
You can see the little teeny step there. 2 feet.
2 feet immediately adjacent to the bike lane.
2 foot section.
See there.
Yeah, I see.
Well, that style curve isn't so hard to drive over, is it? The old style.
Well, those are the ones in the median are mountable. The ones on the outside edge.
What
of
did you say the
pavements are
standard
not
width of a car
mountable
was?
curves.
What is the standard width of a car?
Somewhere around 6, well, they vary by car, but average around 6 feet or so, 6 to 7
Well,
feet.
okay, if the bike lane is 5 feet, you're still getting the majority of the car.
Either way, you still gotta get in the other lane.
I'm
Not creating real estate here.
I'm not convinced that you're.
Then what are you gonna do about a semi truck that's allowed to be 8 feet wide?
Okay, if you wanna make the bike lane 6 feet, I'm all for it.
I'm just saying, I don't care what, I'm all for paved shoulders. Have at it. I'm just saying, let's get the bikes off the road, and I think there's a certain commissioner who might be the chairman of the board that's probably gonna push back about the bike lanes, that's all I'm saying. Not like I'm not gonna vote.
I don't disagree, but that's why I'm saying we should call them something other than bike lanes. Call them bike lanes, shoulders, or whatever it is, but
Emergency lanes.
whatever we wanna call it, but it. I do think that having that 5 feet makes it safer during a breakdown. Notwithstanding what Mr. Moody says, that I think it gives some relief to the uncommon driver. The car is 6 feet wide, I see 6 feet of, see how you can get 6 feet of car in there.
We're not arguing, we're not arguing about the same thing.
I
I'm
see.
not against having additional pavement for shoulders. I'm
Okay.
saying get the bicycles off of it.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Get the bikes off of it, get the bikes on the multi-use path. That's why we're building 10 foot wide multi-use.
How about we just call it a bike lane or a shoulder?
Call it a shoulder.
To be clear, are we talking about actually revising language in the proposed LDC or just on the graphic?
I think just the sections. There's no language in there, is there?
The reference to bike lane in the.
There is a reference to a bike lane, but it also, the language in the code says that it is the shoulder too.
Yes.
So I'm not sure there's a problem with the code. The code says it's functioning, it's serving as both functions.
I tend to think that it is a danger, and I think creating a bike lane is, it's almost like telling people that this is the lane you gotta be in if you wanna be on a bike.
I rarely see people use it as bike lane as well.
You see these people with all the gear on and the helmets and everything, 15 in a row going down the bike lane.
Yeah, I thought that's why I provided a 10 foot trail.
Exactly, isn't that the whole point of providing that?
That's what I'm talking about, why,
I'm not opposed to shoulders. Have all the shoulders and emergency pull-off areas you want. Have them up, have at it.
You could call.
Just get the bikes off the road.
What if we call it a shoulder and then we decide later whether we're gonna allow bikes on it?
Who's gonna enforce that?
Well, the state law allows bicycles to ride down the road too. I'm just saying you're stupid if you do it. Right, and we don't need to encourage people to do it. That's why we want to invest in these multi-use paths. Is to get them off of the road so we can have a safe place to bicycle. And I'm sure there's a certain retired school board member that could come here and testify to that personally.
That's correct, yeah. I've seen municipalities that designate a portion of that multi-use trail as bicycle. Doesn't mean you can't walk on that section, but there's a little lane built into that, painted onto that multi-use trail, and so that one might be a better use to encourage that. You designate 3 feet of that 10 feet trail to a bike.
you see those trails, they have bikes all over.
They do, yeah. But I've seen them before where they actually have a lane designated for bikes,
Yeah, I have to.
multi-use, and
Just please don't put stop controls on the bike lanes like Newport Richey has done, because the people on the street don't understand that the stop sign is for the bike path and not for the street.
No, that's really.
Neither does Google Maps.
I mean, I guess the ultimate question is, you hit the nail on the head, Mr. Mitty, if the streets are allowed to use the road anyway. I mean, if the bikes are allowed to use the road anyway,
legally.
wouldn't you rather have them on the outside edge in the shoulder?
I don't wanna, well, I want to highly encourage them to use the multi-use path that we're now going to obligate developers to build along Vision roads. And all I'm suggesting to you, and I don't care because I'm still gonna recommend approval of this thing, but I'm telling you, when you get to the board, there's a lady who's got a gavel up there, and I'm pretty sure she's gonna tell you the same thing.
I understand that, and what I'm saying is, I don't want an overreaction that causes us to lose our shoulders, that's my issue.
No, I don't want you to lose your shoulders. I'm going on the record, I am completely in support of having adequately wide enough paved shoulders. So that you can pull over in the event of David's Tesla runs out of electricity. And he has to sit there for the next 12 hours while they charge.
Jerry, do you have a suggestion to get solve this?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Charges of
Progress details planning development economic growth. There is work that's happening in the background on the right of way typicals with the county engineer, so we could look at the term more comprehensively, whether we denote it on the typicals as bike lane or as shoulder or as bike lane / shoulder. There are other terms that are used by like the GIS profession. Esri ArcGIS calls them edge lane roads or ELRs. Advisory bike lanes, advisory shoulders. There's a slew of terms that we could debate internally as to what we should actually call them. But for the purposes of this graphic, we could simply remove it and just be silent on it for at least the intent here, since this graphic is really intended for headfoot movement.
And Terry, just the point we're trying to make is, we don't care what you. It's not a semantic argument over what we call it. We all understand that it is safer for the bicyclist to use the multi-use trail that we're going to require be constructed than to ride in the traffic lane or on the side of the traffic lane. That's the whole point of having the multi-use trail. Otherwise, we just call it a sidewalk.
Understood, and don't disagree.
So for additional clarity here, there are certain sections that are a proposed amendment here that does refer to bike lanes. So is the guidance here to maybe remove references to bicycle lanes for now, because
My preference would be to replace it with whatever term Terry comes up with that this multifunctional thing, whatever, I don't know what the right term is.
The shoulder.
The shoulder or whatever it is. Terry made it sound like there's some new term of art that's used for these things that I'm not opposed to using, but I think the concern you're hearing is designated as a bike lane is a problem, because it implies that that's the purpose of it.
Got it.
When I don't think anybody thinks that should be the sole purpose of that pavement.
Understood.
It means you're encouraging people to use it
Yes.
as such,
Okay.
which is not good.
There was a time that was probably okay. I remember when I first went to the University of Florida and I was enthralled at the city of Gainesville, who had these lanes for bicycles on the side of the road. But we didn't have these in 1982. Okay, once we got
There was
these
less
things,
traffic,
that changed the equation.
So, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify my earlier comment, it's the Federal Highway Administration in their small town and rural multimodal network guide that identifies these as edge lane roads or advisory shoulders by FHWA. So that's a federal term.
Advisory shoulder.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Advisory shoulders, I'm okay with.
That doesn't say bikes. I like it when it doesn't say bikes.
Doesn't matter, they're shut down.
It's true.
I mean, it's clearly not a place where you want cars driving fast either. It's.
No, we don't want any cars driving fast down there either.
It's.
That's why the term advisory shoulder is a good term. It's.
I actually like
Just don't
advisory-
call it a bike lane, that's all we're saying.
I like advisory shoulders.
We just wanted a place for people to walk. We don't need 10 feet wide either.
Exactly.
Right, but we're talking about the 5 feet.
If we're talking about encouraging bicycles, we need it 10 feet wide.
I agree on the multi-use trail. We're just, the issue is what are we gonna call the 5 feet?
The shoulder.
Well, for the purposes of this hearing, can we leave it out entirely? Is there,
Well, I think,
or do we need to come up with a term before we?
I think
approve
the
this?
problem is the code that refer to a bike lane. I think that's the issue. So
Mr. Chair, if I can, after development review. So 9016 already has shoulders covered, as I'm sure the engineers out there know. So we have a section that talks to shoulders already. So again, I don't know how this is going to interplay with each other, but I just wanted to point that out. So if we're changing the name of what a shoulder may be, maybe we're changing that code section as well. Now granted, 9016 is generally talking about subdivision collector and lower, so subdivision collector, local roads, even minor rural subdivision has a small little shoulder on it. We're talking about vision roads, right, that's covered by a vision road typicals, which I believe we're intending to update in the not so distant future, so there's different hierarchy of things that are at play here, so if we're talking about changing terms, I think we need to look at it a little bit more holistically, just a thought.
Well, in this section of the code of what's proposed, underneath the bicycle lanes, you got subsection 1, 2, and 3. Can we just delete 2 and 3 and leave it to where it says it shall be constructed in accordance with the adopted typical sections? And then when the typical sections are updated, they'll be called whatever they decide to be called?
I am not opposed to that.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
You should probably make a motion, Jim.
So moved. Did you get that? Gotta follow the hierarchy here, but it's subsection 2 and 3 under bicycle lanes for arterial collector roads. We're just gonna strike those 2 subsections.
I would second that.
Motion and second, further discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
To go home.
Full confidence that Terry can come up with a good name for
Oh, yeah,
typical sections.
absolutely.
Got big shoulders.
Yeah.
Oh,
Carrying the weight of the
He's
world.
carrying
on
away the world on his shoulders. Got a lot riding on your shoulders.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, you thought it was gonna be quick, didn't you?
You all make.
That was just a motion to strike those
Yeah,
sections.
yeah,
We
you
need
need a motion on the balance of the item.
Oh,
So I'll move approval.
second.
Have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? You mind saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. I hear another motion.
We have enough fun for one day. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Favor?
I